Hare Krishna. Welcome to a special series on Jagannath pastimes, Jagannath Ratha, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in Jagannath Puri. This is the first day we're going to discuss about Jagannath's unique appearance in Jagannath Puri temple, how he appeared in Jagannath Puri temple. Before we start and understand the wonderful, enchanting pastimes of our beloved Lord Jagannath, fold your hands and offer the prayers along with me. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maya ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Pramanande. So on 20th June this month, the Lord of the Universe going to come outside his temple and going to give his merciful glance upon all the conditioned souls. The day we've been waiting, year after year, for his beloved devotees. He comes out of his temple and gives us marvelous darshans to all of us. In just within a week, we're going to have his darshan on his grand chariot on June 20th. So, why do we celebrate Ratha Yatra? Just like Hindus, we celebrate Diwali. But when we ask people, why do you celebrate Diwali? Why do you eagerly wait for Diwali being celebrated? People would say, we get a chance to burst crackers, we get new clothes, we have holidays. That's the reason that's why we celebrate Diwali. Or if you ask why do you celebrate Holi? Oh, festival of colors, festival of crackers, festival of lights. But the intent, the courtesy, the pastime, the mood behind the celebration is not at all known to any one of us in London. Not to speak of Hindus. They themselves, they don't know why to celebrate. So it's important for us as devotees of Jagannath and Krishna to know what is the mood in which we should celebrate Ratha Yatra and what is the reason Ratha Yatra is celebrated. So let us go into the past before that to understand. 5,000 years ago, Krishna was in Vrindavan. There was wonderful pastimes being done by the Lord with his sweet, loving devotees. Demons were killed every single day. Pastimes with his gopis, gopas, calves. Everything was going wonderfully, lovingly. Sweet, wonderful leelas were happening every single day in Braja. And one fine day, Kamsa appointed Akrura to go and get Krishna and Balram back to Mathura. On his demonic plan, Akrura had to participate, although he was a devotee. Akrura came all the way from Mathura to get Krishna and Balram back to Mathura. And finally, he convinced his parents to allow Krishna and Balram for a trip to Mathura because the king has invited, Kamsa has invited, they have to go. And Krishna and Balram agreed to go along with Akrura, the Chacha. Meanwhile, the entire residence of Vrindavan is completely grief-stricken, completely in pain, in grief. Tears are not stopping from being from the eyes. This was the condition. But Krishna assured, I will be back, definitely. But he never returned back. Akrura took him back to Mathura, and rest of the history. Kamsa was killed, and Krishna never returned to Mathura again. Later on, years later, when Krishna had already become the prince of Dwarka, and there was an auspicious occasion of an eclipse where the Pandavas as well as Yatus, they had come to Kurukshetra to take a dip in the holy river there on the auspicious occasion of a solar eclipse. The information was got by the Vrajavasis, and the Vrajavasis, along with all their paraphernalia, cows, calves, and sweets, delicacies, came to the place to meet their beloved Krishna in Kurukshetra. Mother Yashoda saw Krishna, Nanda Maharaj saw Krishna, all the elderly gopis saw Krishna, the Gopas saw Krishna. They exchanged their pleasantries. and had the talk, and finally Krishna had to meet his beloved devotee, the most exalted of all, Srimati Radharani. When Srimati Radharani met Krishna, she told, "Oh, you're the same Krishna, I'm the same Radharani, but this humdrum is not suitable for us. Let us go back to our loving, sweet Vrindavan." In that mode, she invited Krishna, but Krishna said, "I'll come, I will try my best to make it up." But the gopis, along with Srimati Radharani, just pulled him towards Vrindavan to commemorate this pastime, this particular Leela. Jagannath Puri, the Lord, is pulled by his devotees from Jagannath Puri to Gundicha temple. Gundicha, which happens to be a symbolizing of Vrindavana, and Jagannath Puri happens to be Dwarka. From Dwarka to Vrindavan, Kurukshetra to Vrindavan, the pulling of Krishna and Balram towards their beloved Vrindavan is the pastime for which this Ratha Yatra's celebration is celebrated. This is the reason. Now, what should be our mood? We should also pull the Ratha. Of course, we should pull the Ratha. What should be our mood? We should pull the Lord into our hearts by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra while being pulled. It is said, if anyone has the darshan of the Lord, Ratam cha Vamanan chaiva punar janmana brajyate. If anyone has the darshan of the Lord on the Ratha, he is not going to take birth again in this material world. That is the opportunity all of us will get. On June 20th, I request all of you to come to our temple. We're going to have a golden chariot for, of course, Radha Madhav, and who is none other than Jaganatha himself, along with his consort, going to be pulled by his beloved devotees in the Hare Krishna Mandir. And all of us who are coming with us for the Ratha Yatra will also get a chance to pull the Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, who will come in a grand chariot on 28th of June after 9 days of staying in Gundicha temple. That's going to be memorable. So don't miss this trip, those who registered for the place. Okay. So this is the mode in which we celebrate. This is the mode in which we celebrate the Ratha Yatra. This is the why we follow these things. Okay. Now, what is the next understanding? How did Jagannath come into existence? The Jagannath doesn't look like Krishna. He has big eyes, reddish smile, and how does he appear like that? Why does he appear like that? It is a very interesting, beautiful pastime. Why he appears like that and why he appeared in Jagannath Puri the way he is. Okay. Rohini was with Mother Yashoda enjoying the childhood pastimes of Krishna and Balram. When Krishna got settled in Dwarka and Mathura, Rohini, the wife of Vasudev, was narrating the pastimes of Krishna and Balram to all his queens. The queens were interested to know what their loving husband Krishna used to do as a kid, as a child. We heard a lot of things about our beloved husband. You have witnessed it all. We want to hear what was he doing, what was he acting, what was he known for. So ये सारे पास्टाइम हम जानना चाहते हैं, सारे लीला हम सुनना चाहते हैं आपके श्रीमुख से. So Rohini was ready to narrate this pastimes. So all the queens assembled in their own womanly assembly, and no men can enter there, so that nobody enters that private place of the queens. Subhadra was made the guard of the door, so that no one can enter the door while these things is being discussed, which is very confidential among the queens. So meanwhile, Devaki was also there. Rohini was narrating because Devaki had not heard or was not there to witness the enchanting childhood pastimes of the Lord, although she was the mother of the Lord. But Yashoda and Rohini, being in Nanda's place in Vrindavan, had the privilege and honor to have the wonderful darshan and pastimes of the Lord face to face. So meanwhile, Rohini started narrating the wonderful, enchanting, sweet, loving pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. All the queens were all ears to hear this enchanting pastimes. Meanwhile, Subhadra also started hearing. She forgot what was happening with her, because she was also hearing her transcendental brothers' wonderful pastimes. Meanwhile, Krishna and Balaram was happening to pass through that place, and they wondered, what is she doing here? कान लगा के क्या सुन रही है? So they also kept their ears, wanting to hear what Subhadra is hearing. बहन सुन रही है, कृष्णा सुन रहे हैं, बलराम सुन रहे हैं. दोनों भाई अपने खुद की लीलाओं के बारे में रोहिणी के मुख से वो भी सुनने लगे. Because those pastimes were so sweet, the Lord Himself, both the Lords, Balaram and Krishna, were in ecstasy. Along with their transcendental Subhadra, they also went into ecstasy, and their eyes started bulging out, their body started shrinking, and immediately Narada Muni happened to visit that Dwarka, and he happened to see this unusual pastime. So, the moment Narada Muni happened to be there, they came to their external senses, recovered from their ecstasy, and became normal. Narada Muni was saying, "Hey, I want to see that form of yours. What was that? What was that?" Krishna and Balaram said, "Ho gaya, so ho gaya. Dekh liya. No, we want to have that darshan once again. I want to have that darshan once again. Oh, abhi nahi ho payega. We'll very soon appear in Jagannath Puri, and in Jagannath Puri we'll have this darshan." So this is the reason why Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra appear in an uncommon, awkward way of appearance. Of course, it is their Leela, it is his wish, that's why he appears. Okay. Now, when and how did Jagannath appear as Jagannath in Jagannath Puri? That's the third pastime. There was a great king, Bahut Bada Raja, the great devotee. All the kings used to be exalted Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas means they are pure devotees of Krishna, Vishnu, the king of Utkal, Puri, Sri Kshetra, was also a great exalted devotee called Indradyumna. He was a ardent devotee of Lord Sri Krishna. And he got the information through a Brahmana who came to his palace saying that, "My dear Lord, your desire to have darshan of the Lord, the Supreme Lord, is going to be fulfilled. He has appeared in this beautiful place, but you need to look for him." So this information was somehow given to Indradyumna by the priest. So the king Indradyumna called all his secretaries, priests, and the soldiers and gave this task. उन्होंने बोला कि जाओ नील माधव. Krishna has appeared as Neela Madhava there, the most beautiful enchanting form of the Lord. The priest have informed me, Akashawani has given the information to me. Please go and search for him. I want to have his darshan and build a beautiful temple for him. Jao or don't go. And the king sends everyone to different parts of the world to look for Neela Madhava. But the most of them returned back. Almost everyone eyed Alihat except this one priest, Vidyapati, our hero of this particular passage. So Vidyapati had not returned. Of course, he was a confidential associate of the king, and the king had some hope that he would do so. What's happening with Vidyapati? So Vidyapati happened to come to a place where an unusual thing used to happen. He came to a village. There was no one in that house. He knocked the door, and there was one lady, and she was hesitating to open the door because she was alone. No one was at home. And meanwhile, her father, Vishwavasu, the tribal king, happened to visit. And since Brahmana was knocking the door, he wanted to enter the house, and he saw the Brahmana, and he received the Brahmana. He entertained him in his house. Meanwhile, in due course of time, he started staying there, and somehow fell in love with Lalita. Lalita also fell in love with Vidyapati, and both of them got married. Because he knew there is something special happening, some vibes he got it. And he started living there for the cause of the king. But he found a very unusual thing. Unusual thing क्या था कि हर रात को विश्ववसु used to go outside the house and next day morning he used to come back. And जब वो आते थे, his body used to be anointed with sandalwood, bulb, fragrance of musk and camphor, used to be divinely glowing. So every single day used to happen. And he used to wonder, where is he going? Mera sasur kahan jata hai? Then he happened to talk to Lalita, his husband, so his wife. Lalita said, no, I'm not, I'm forbidden to say to this, inform it to others. It's a confidential thing. I cannot share it with you. But since Vidyapati was her husband, loving husband, she fell in love with him, so she had to eventually reveal the secret. You cannot, if you want to keep any secret, don't inform it to any woman. The secret will never remain secret. Then she revealed that no, my father goes and worships Neelamada, and that's how his body is fragrant and his Charishma is divine, and that's what you get the fragrance. Oh my God, the project which was given to me is going to come closer. I had finally found out where Neelamada is there. So I want to have darshan. No, that's not possible. Vishnu doesn't take anyone else to accept him to go to that particular place, which is very secret, and only he goes and comes back. But again, he persists. Jano, please, kuch bhi karo, mujhe darshan kara do. And she, because she was attached to the husband, she requested her father, please एक बार लेके जाओ और दर्शन करा दो please. नहीं, I'll not take him. But the wife, daughter request कर रही है, and husband के लिए, so ससुर मान जाते हैं, दादी मान जाते हैं. Finally agrees, but on one condition, Vidyapati, you can come along with me, but I'll blindfold you. And when I take you to there, I'll unfold you can have darshan. That's all. So the agreement hoga. Then meanwhile, Vidyapati was very intelligent. So in his kurta, he made a small hole in the kurta and kept sarson ka mustard seeds. So finally, Vishwavasu agreed to take Vidyapati to have darshan of Neelamadava. Now Neelamadava is eagerly waiting for his devotee representative Vidyapati to have darshan. And devotee hoye bada chatur. He's very intelligent. Unless you're intelligent, you cannot become a devotee. Krishna jo hoye, Krishna bhaje so hoye bada chatur. So devotee Vidyapati kept mustard seeds in his pocket, and the pocket had a small hole. And all this was blindfolded. He started dropping the mustard seeds on the way, so that tomorrow, later, when he can be followed along the lines of mustard to reach the destination. This was his intelligence. Finally, वहाँ पे पहुँचते हैं. So meanwhile, when he has the darshan of Neelamada, he gets completely flabbergasted looking at the beauty of the Lord. And he was thrilled, he was excited to have his darshan. Meanwhile, Vishwavasu told, please have darshan, offer your prayers. I'll just go around and pluck some flowers and fruits to be offered to my beloved Lord. ऐसे बोल के विश्ववासु चले जाते हैं. And meanwhile, Vidyapati had seen something very unusual, uncommon. He saw a crow which happened to fall asleep and fell into the pond there in front of Neelamada. And immediately the crow became a four-handed Vishnu form, a Shankha Chakra and Pada Padma, Vishnu the form, and he went back to Vaikuntha. Vidyapati seeing this, he also wanted, watch a wonderful opportunity to just jump into the river and become liberated four-handed form and go back to God. What an opportunity, what a diamond opportunity. He also climbed the tree and was about to jump. Then a celestial voice he heard requested us to have this information of Neelamada to be informed to Indradyumna. Now he took him back to his home and arrested him there, so that Vidyapati cannot go back to Indradyumna and inform the presence of Neelamada. Lord's devotees have their own ways to keep the Lord with themselves. Anyways, past tense. Meanwhile, he's arrested, but again, as will of the Lord wants to go from that place. The Lord wants to go to Jagannath Puri, in that sense, Nilachana. know that Neelamada to actually wanted to go. Now here, finally, Lalita again pesters her father, Jaganatha, please. So finally, he gets released from Vishwavasu and goes back to King's palace and Indradyumna's palace, and he announces, "My dear Lord, I have found Neelamada." And king was completely excited and thrilled. बहुत खुशी से मारे पागल हो गए. Finally, he's going to have the darshan of the Lord as Neil Madhav. He arranged all his army, his entourage, and his क्या बोलते convoy, and he marched towards the darshan of Neil Madhav. But the moment he reached there, Lord has his own divine plans. भगवान वहाँ पे थे ही नहीं, ओझल हो गए. And again, he was completely disappointed, depressed, and he went into trauma. And he decided to fast until death because finally, I'm so wretched and fallen. Lord, although we found you and I couldn't have darshan of yours, how is it this possible? Then he decided to fast till death. Meanwhile, the Lord in his dream came, "Don't worry, I will soon appear in the Daru Brahma form. And you just have to arrange the carpenters and I'll appear in that form. That is my desire." Oh, he was really excited. Oh, I still have a chance. And miraculously, 3 dharus, daru means wood, appeared through the Mahadavi, the ocean. And that was so huge. And he appointed the best of the carpenters and the sculptor to carve it. To their surprise, best of the tools and hammers and all the tools to carving was not able to even get a scratch on the wood. So again he became depressed. Again he noticed, "You come here, but I'm not able to carve you. What is this?" Then the Lord again, because everything has to be done by the Lord. Devotees are also instrument in the hand of the Lord. Devotees can't do without the sanction of the Lord. Again, Lord assures us, "Don't worry, old Brahmana will come, he'll help you out." Old Brahmana, this stalwart young sculptors are not able to, old Brahmana will carve it. I have attention must go on. And miraculously, old Brahmana comes and tells, "I will do the duty," I guess, because it matches with what the Lord had showed in his dream. And finally, old Brahmana came and I have an agreement, I have conditions. 21 days I'll be inside and don't have to disturb me, I'll work on it. But if you come in between, I'll stop my work. I'll not continue the work. Agreed. But meanwhile, the work was going on. The sound of the chisels and the hammer and the wood, and he's singing the glories of the Lord while working on the daru was happening. And the king was excited. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. And it happened to be 14th day. And this day, something unusual happened as expected. क्या हुआ उस दिन? आवाज आना बंद हो गया. अंदर से आवाज ही नहीं आ रहा. We felt this old Brahmana, what would have happened to him? We supplied food, but he's still old. Anything would have happened. No sound of chisels, hammer, or drilling. As will of the providence, Paramatma with the heart inspired him to open the door, and as usual, as he promised, the Brahmana disappeared, and the deities were unfinished. हाथ नहीं है, पैर नहीं है, face नहीं बना. It happened to be so apparently big to be so awkward or weird. It's a bold Satya, because he's not like Shyam Sundara, Neela Madhava, beautiful Tribanga form with Murli in his hand. So he was devastated. His tears started flowing from his eyes, and he called himself to be so frustrating that finally the Lord wanted to appear because of my immaturity, because of my impatience. I opened the door. That's why patience, the idea is very important. Chanting कर रहे हो, 16 notes कर रहे हो, follow कर रहे हो, problem होता रहेगा, difficulties आएगी, लेकिन धैर्य नहीं खोना, continue करना. तो पति shelter लेकर पकड़ी थी पुलिस के साथ चलना. So again he went to depression and he said, "That's it, no more living. I'm burst. Let me go and commit suicide." Again the Lord appeared, "Why मत कर यार? I'll come. This is my Leela. I want to manifest myself in this form. ये मेरी इच्छा है. तो ऐसा थोड़ी होगा यार. Tension मत लो तुम. मेरी desire है. Let it be happen like this. Worship me like this." Okay. So he builds a beautiful temple, gorgeous, majestic temple for the Lord. But it has to be installed. Now he calls Brahma to install that. Jagannath. But Brahma said, this Shri Kshetra is internal potency of the Lord. What I can do, I can install the flag, but I cannot do more than that. Finally, again, he became little unhappy. Then it goes on like that, but that, and finally, of course, this Brahma's thing was before. This is I just upar niche ho gaya. And finally, the deities were installed, and this is how Jagannath, Baldeva, Subhadra, along with Sudarshana, appeared. And since then, the worship of them is going on. And the conditions were there. There was a talk between King Indradumna and the Lord. The Lord agreed to for these three conditions. One condition was you would be sleeping only 3 hours per day, because the Lord has to give darshan to all his devotees. Only 3 hours, all the days, night, and you can give darshan. You take the nap for 3 hours. Agreed. Second, your fingers should not get dry. मतलब इतना खाना आपको इतना खाना खिलाऊंगा, आप खाते खाते आपकी उंगली कभी सूखेंगे नहीं, उतना खिलाऊंगा. Agreed. Then there should be no descendant to my dynasty. ये नहीं कि बोलो मेरा टेंपल है, मेरे बच्चे उसका बच्चे नहीं. This should be maintained by these people only. And Vishwavasu had his own followerships. Vishwavasu, the Shabara tribe, they will have their own worship. Then Vidyapati, they became a priest class. Like and kings' descendants, they became one type of servants. And like that, every class of men were engaged in the service of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. And before Rath Yatra, the Lord goes for a transcendental bathing. गर्मी के टाइम था, नहाने चले गए, पानी देखा, गर्मी है, ट्रॉपिकल क्लाइमेट है, तो नहा लिया अच्छी तरह से, तो बीमार पड़ गए. 14 days he was in quarantine. And during that quarantine, he had given the best medicine so that he can recuperate, and all the things what he has eaten for 352 days that has to be undone. So all those treatment had been done to the Lord, and he gets completely rejuvenated, excited, and he comes out on the Jagannath Rath Yatra day, ready to go out for a stride after getting recovered. Because the quarantine ke baad you just want to get out and see the sunshine and have a wonderful breeze and have a stroke, right? The same way Lord also wants to come down and go for a ride and wants to witness the devotees who want eagerly waiting to pull him up. For 14 days, Jagannath put him darshan nahi hota. Yeah? So the devotees all across the world come together and pulls the Rath Yatra in that particular day. Because that place is such a sanctified place. People all across the world come there to have darshan of Jagannath sitting on the chariot. But today, on June 28th, Rath Yatra will be celebrated. It will not be celebrated only in Jagannath Puri. Before 500 years ago, only the king of Puri and his associates used to pull the chariot and do the celebrations. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he involved everyone in pulling the chariot. Now when Srila Prabhupada, his commander-in-chief, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's commander-in-chief, Srila Prabhupada came, he not only took Jagannath from Jagannath Puri, he took him to every single corner of the world. In every prominent city, on June 20th, you will have Rath Yatra being held. That is a glorious contribution of Srila Prabhupada for Jagannath. Of course, the most exalted contribution of Prabhupada is his books. But Rath Yatra is the festival which Prabhupada and ISKCON has given to the whole world. On June 20th this year, or every year in Rath Yatra, all the prominent cities will have Jagannath Baldev Ratha being held. That is a glorious contribution of Srila Prabhupada. The whole world will be indebted to Prabhupada for this. And Prabhupada writes in one place, history will remember that Hare Krishna Society was responsible for saving the world from going to chaos. Srila Prabhupada went to US, United States of America, Boston. He landed in the US in 1965. For 1 year, he struggled hard to establish the center in New York with few of his disciples who had just got initiated into Krishna consciousness. In 1966, he
formed the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and few disciples were taken up Krishna consciousness, a bit of seriousness, and they were practicing. And one such devotee couple who were staying together were Mukunda and Janaki, who got initiated by Prabhupada and also got married to each other by Prabhupada. Personally conducted the marriage ceremony. The first initiation and the first marriage ceremony was conducted by Swami Prabhupada for his disciples in New York. And Prabhupada instructed these two of them, Mukunda and Janaki, were also called earlier, also known as Michael and Jane. Prabhupada requested them because they were, after taking their initiation, they just wanted to go to India. And Prabhupada requested them, if you can just go and open a center in San Francisco, I'll be very happy with you. It was there in their mind, but somehow before going to India, they wanted to meet their friends in San Francisco. And throughout the journey, they remembered the instruction of Swami Prabhupada and were contemplating on that. And meanwhile, in San Francisco, Mukunda and Janaki, now they had got enough of Prabhupada's instructions and guidelines, and was completely immersed in the consciousness of Swamiji. Prabhupada ke two disciples, they're on the way to San Francisco. On their way to San Francisco, constantly this instruction of Swami Prabhupada was constantly buzzing them. But nevertheless, they went to San Francisco and met their friends, Samuel and Melanie, who would eventually become Shyam Sundar and Malati, the parents of the beautiful, enchanting killed Saraswati. So they were into their hippie journey. But somehow the conviction what Mukunda and Janaki had about Swamiji brushed upon them, and they also got inspired to take up the instructions of Swamiji seriously and started practicing Krishna consciousness to a certain extent. Meanwhile, this appearance of Jagannath in San Francisco is unique. Malati, Devi Dasi, she happened to go to a cost plus import shop which has a lot of antiques and anti-crafts and other items which they put it on sale. And she happened to be stalling in the shop, and finally she came across this dolls filled in wooden barrels. And one particular doll, she liked it very much. Painted it black with a red smile and written in small letters, "Made in India." This tag, "Made in India," brought a big smile on her face, because Swamiji was from India. The delicacies which Swamiji used to cook for her, halwa, puri, sabji, also from India. Bhagavad Gita was from India. Hare Krishna Mahamantra was from India. And this doll, "Made in India," got the attention of Malati, and she just picked it from the barrel and just walked out of the shop. Actually, she just picked up. And meanwhile, she had kept it in her apartment. And Shyam Sundar and Mukunda, who came to the apartment, happened to see this doll, again, "Made in India," attracted, and the unique, enchanting smile of the doll made it attractive for both of them. And Shyam Sundar picked it up and wanted to give it to the Swami Srila Prabhupada. And Swami Prabhupada was in another apartment where he used to stay. And ye jaake unko ye chota sa doll dikhate hain. Prabhupada, when he saw this, he was beaming with smile, ear to ear, end to end smile, and he offered obeisances then and there. And Shyam Sundar and Michael, the Mukunda, was wonderstruck. What has happened to Swamiji? Why is he doing this? Then Prabhupada asked, "Where are other two? Who bought this? From where did they get this guy, get this doll, get this piece of art? In fact, he's Lord of the universe. He's Jagannath himself. He's Krishna himself." Prabhupada went on to explain. "So who bought this?" He said, "Malati bought it. It's called Malati." Malati was informed. Malati came rushing that Prabhupada has called. She came and offered obeisances. And Prabhupada asked Malati, where were the other two? No, there were a lot of such dolls. No, two. Yes, there were two. I would go and get it them for you, Prabhupada. And she goes back to that shop, Cost Plus Imports shop, and she brings another two, that is Baladev and Subhadra. Because Prabhupada had shown Jagannath doesn't stay alone. He's always with his brother and sister Baldev and Subhadra. So in this way, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra happened to be in front of Prabhupada. This was not mere coincidence. Krishna was planning for their appearance in the San Francisco, and Prabhupada had this will. And Prabhupada started explaining to them, they are the Lord of the universe. He's Jagannath, he's Baldev, and he's Subhadra. And he briefly explained to them how their appearance, which I shared yesterday, the appearance of Lord Jagannath, how King Indradumna desired to worship Neelamadhav, and somehow the Lord manifested his form as Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra in his unique, weird features and loving features in Jagannath Puri. And after that, he started explaining about Ratha Yatra, there's Jagannath Puri, there's Kundicha temple, all grand road. And meanwhile, Prabhupada, while explaining, asked his disciples, anyone knows woodwork here? Anyone carpenter here? Shyam Sundar raised his hand. And Prabhupada explained to him, you need to have a logs, and with the wood, we need to make at least 3 feet tall Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. So Prabhupada was preparing his disciples for worshipping the deities. And meanwhile, we wanted a log. They wanted a log so that they can work on. So they went to the seashore. There's a Cleveland wrecking company, and Malati Mataji was telling, and in those area, the sea, a lot of logwoods would come and wash off, and in that shipwreck, numbers would be mentioned on the logs. So that was designated logs. You cannot just take it off. But there was unattended log. They picked up in their truck and just vanished from that spot. Just remember, yesterday I told that log for carving Jagannath also had come from the sea, and the first deities logs to be carved for the deities also had come from the sea. Not a mere coincidence. And Shyam Sundar cut that log into 3 pieces and started working. But he was very slow and very meticulous in his work. Purpose for his working slow on the Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra was they wanted to keep Swamiji in sentences for long. He used to work very slowly. Prabhupada used to call up on the phone, oh, this is Bhaktivedanta Swami. How is the work going on, Shyam Sundar? They would update. And one fine day, Prabhupada came directly to the apartment where Shyam Sundar was working on Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. And they were still hippies, although they were introduced to Krishna consciousness. They were not still serious about it. Once in a while, they would get out the Frederick Road and they would smoke a cigarette and take up LSD. They're still not serious about following the regulative principle and just introduced to Krishna consciousness. Swamiji was still helping them out. And to their surprise, when they saw Prabhupada in their apartment, when he reached the apartment, Shyam Sundar was smoking and he had kept the birds on Jagannath's head. This is how Prabhupada seen this scene. He was a little upset, but what can be done? He saw that ash can, cigarettes can, birds can was kept. Prabhupada, from his skin, he shoot away and said, from now onwards, you should not smoke. You should be serious in Krishna consciousness. This is intoxication. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu recollects, from then he stopped consuming or smoking. In this way, Prabhupada started training his disciples who were completely alien to the culture of Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada gave a deadline to them, because when they were working, not only cigarettes, there was a dog also. His name was Ralph. And wherever they go, they used to take this dog along with them. And when they go to pick up Prabhupada in the airport, the dog was there. In the apartment, the dog was there. When they go for a kirtan in Hashbury Street, they used to take this dog along with him. Even in the park, they used to take the dog with him for kirtan. But Prabhupada didn't insist on all those things, because just coming up with practicing Krishna consciousness initially. But Prabhupada gave them a warning, because Prabhupada came in, this Jagannath instance happened in the mid of February 1967, and Prabhupada said by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day, that is on Gaura Purnima, we're going to install Jagannath. So deadline was there. The work has to be pick up the pace, and he worked on the Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and finally on the auspicious occasion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day, a beautiful altar was made, and Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra were installed. The first installation ceremony in ISKCON happened in San Francisco. The installation ceremony was simple. The altar was opened. Prabhupada gave a small class and a kirtan, and an arti happened. First arti happened in ISKCON. Till that they were having arti of photos. Deity worship was not done. So what was the arti? There was no diya. Of course, there was a candle. Prabhupada offered the candle, then the incense, some flowers, some cloth, and Prabhupada give the candle for them to accept. They don't know what to do with the candle. Prabhupada said, this is arti, you have to keep your hand on the flame and you have to put it and touch the flame and put it on your hand. So arti lene ka. So Prabhupada was teaching them small things. In India, by default, we all know all this by culture, but Prabhupada is teaching these Westerners who don't know even how to take arti. Okay, this is the first installation of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra happened. Now one day without Prabhupada's notice, they took Jagannath to a park, Golden Gate Park, Hippie Hill. This is a Makkah of all the hippies. All the hippies all across the US should come and congregate there and do their weird stuff there. And these devotees got Jagannath there, and if you find a photograph also where Prabhupada is sitting next to Jagannath without wearing any clothes, and Prabhupada doing kirtan. So these hippies got this wonderful weird looking doll, and were happy with that, and they were assembled around Jagannath and they're doing kirtan. There's a video also, you would see it later. You can watch it on the internet, you will find it. And Prabhupada was not happy seeing Jagannath in this odd place without any clothes. And Prabhupada continued anyways. He tolerated all the small, minute faults of his devotees and tolerated and encouraged them very transparently, very carefully. So meanwhile, after the kirtan, after the class, Prabhupada called his disciples and said, oh, Jagannath cannot go outside the temple like this. You cannot get the Lord outside his temple anywhere and everywhere without his will. He goes outside the temple once in a year, and when he goes out, he goes on his royal chariot. There will be big grand chariots, one for Jagannath, one for Baldev, one for Subhadra, and they need to be pulled. Lord doesn't go outside the house, outside the temple every day. People come to the temple and take darshan. Once in a year, he goes out to give darshan. And he started telling about the Ratha Yatra and more details of Ratha Yatra. Now Prabhupada understood Jagannath doesn't want to stay in the temple. He wants to go out, and Ratha Yatra has to be organized. This is how Ratha Yatra's concept was introduced to the disciples of Prabhupada in the West. Then meanwhile, devotees in New York were missing Swami Prabhupada, and they got the letters. Brahmananda Swami, other devotees were requesting to Prabhupada to come back because they were just opened and they were just struggling to maintain all the. There were a couple of other centers. Prabhupada went to New York back, and before leaving San Francisco, Prabhupada explained to them that when you come, I'll come when you organize a grand Ratha Yatra here. To attend Ratha Yatra, I'll definitely come. Prabhupada had given a blueprint how cart should be made, how Ratha Yatra should be organized. He told about the Jagannath Puri Kundicha, long truck, how to do it. Then Prabhupada saw this flat, bedded trucks. You can use the trucks and build a canopy, and he gave a rough idea how to organize a Ratha Yatra in San Francisco. But the call had come from his beloved devotees and disciples in New York. He had to rush to New York, and he said, when you organize Ratha Yatra in San Francisco, I would join you. Okay, this is the next task for Prabhupada. Prabhupada was preparing his disciples, giving one task, one service at a time. Meanwhile, in New York, he fell sick. Half of his body was paralyzed. He wanted an Ayurvedic doctor to come from India to help him to cure his disease. But it was not happening somehow or the other. And he was admitted to the hospital, but the doctors were not able to treat him properly. Prabhupada was pissed off with their treatment. Every now and then the blood being sucked for the tests, and Prabhupada was literally unhappy with the way the doctors treated him, and he requested Brahmananda Prabhu to get him out of it. So doctor said, if you go outside the hospital, you will die. Prabhupada said, I don't care, Krishna will take care of me. And they were still insisting him to stay back in the hospital for the treatment, because in the West you cannot just go out. Brahmananda Prabhu was asked by Prabhupada to get him out of the hospital, and Brahmananda Prabhu somehow put Prabhupada in the wheelchair and got him outside the temple, literally kidnapped Prabhupada from the hospital. And Prabhupada came out of the hospital, and meanwhile some arrangements was made for Prabhupada to go to New Jersey, and a place was rented out for Prabhupada. So many things were being discussed for his treatment, going to India or getting a doctor from India. Meanwhile, San Francisco devotees who took the instruction of Srila Prabhupada to organize the Rath Yatra made their commitment full by telling Prabhupada, we're going to organize Rath Yatra, please do come and grace the occasion. And Prabhupada, and we also have rented a premises near to the sea, and you can recuperate your health there. Understanding the warm weather of San Francisco and a house being rented out next to the sea, Prabhupada was elated, and he also wanted to encourage the disciples in San Francisco so that he can personally attend the Rath Yatra. And he goes to San Francisco just 2 days ahead of Rath Yatra. Prabhupada was received by disciples in San Francisco. By that time, lot of devotees were introduced to Krishna consciousness. There was a tumultuous kirtan in the San Francisco airport, and the limousine was there. Prabhupada boarded the limousine, just went to the rented premises on the beach, and he was taking there, and he was given the itinerary of the whole event. There would be Ratha made of this, and they will start from this place and end it in this particular place. Prasadam will be distributed throughout the Ratha Yatra celebrations. And what are the prasadam? Oranges will be given to everyone, and rotis dipped in ghee will be given, and Shyam Sundar will be the driver, Mukunda will be Kirtan lead, Mataji will be the Kirtan lead, and all prasadam arrangement will be taken by Mukundas. All this itinerary and services list was given. Prabhupada approved. Prabhupada was very happy, but still he couldn't attend the Rath Yatra festival. Of course, Rath Yatra started off in the right spot and finally ended. While traveling, something unique happened. The bus was not working efficiently. The lorry on which the Jagannath was seated, it broke down. It was going back reverse, and Shyam Sundar was driving, and he panicked, and again he started off, again it worked out, again ऊपर जाता है नीचे आता है, ऊपर जाता है नीचे आता है, and finally they could cross over the difficulty uphill and eventually reach the spot where Jagannath Baldev was kept on the top of piano, which is in the Prabhupada's room, and more than 500 people attended this Rath Yatra, and throughout the Rath Yatra they were singing, dancing. They got the permission from the police, and Jaganatha Prabhu was the one who was instrumental in getting the sponsorship, and somehow they successfully conducted the first Rath Yatra in ISKCON in 1967, June 9th, exactly 55 years ago. So that is what the first ISKCON Rath Yatra, this is how it was conducted, and Prabhupada was very happy with them, the way it went up. And meanwhile, Prabhupada was looking for his female disciples, Yamuna Mataji and others. Then someone instead told them they got someone gave them some poppins which was laced with LSD and drugs. So they are recuperating from that. So Prabhupada warned them, accept prasadam, don't take anything. See how Prabhupada consciously, consistently started introducing each and every anga of Krishna consciousness. He introduced Harinam, then when they were doing Harinam, they introduced Jagannath worship, then the Aarti, then prasadam, Bhoga offering. So in the initial days before the Jagannath came, the offering was like, जो भी कुकिंग करते हैं उसके पॉट में लेके आते हैं और हरे कृष्णा मंत्र बोलते हैं, and that is prasadam. Later when Jagannath was installed, he said there should be separate plates for Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra, and nobody should eat in that plates, and tulsi should be offered, and special items should be made. 2 times you should cook and offer it to the Lord with proper mantras, and curtain should be closed, and after some time curtain should be opened and should be mixed with other offerings and should be washed. all those standards of Bhoga offering was introduced to the disciples slowly and steadily. And later on, all this information was spread across the other centers also. By then 8 centers were there, and the tongue calls would be made, and Prabhupada said like this, Prabhupada said like this. We introduced deity worship, Arti, Bhoga offering, Ratha Yatra, card. So in this way, Jagannath Ratha Yatra was introduced all across the globe, from San Francisco to New York to London to Pakistan to Bangladesh to Sri Lanka, Tokyo, you name a city in the world, every nook and corner of the world, every year. In fact, in most of the cities, on Ratha Yatra Day, official holiday. That is the impact, irrespective of their culture and conditioning. Even in Malaysia and Singapore, of course, in China also, or in some Gulf countries, within the premises, within the community of devotees, because there's the hardships of practicing faith openly. But this is going to happen. Nagaradi Gramadi Sarvatra Prachara Hoibe Mora Nam. Every town and village, Krishna's name will be chanted. This is a prophecy which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did 500 years ago, and his commander-in-chief, Srila Prabhupada, has fulfilled the prophecy, and now his disciples are spreading the same message all across the globe. So this is the particular pastime which I want to share. How Jagannath appeared in this material world. Yesterday I shared how Jagannath appeared in ISKCON. I am sharing it today with all of you. So in this way, you can see the commonalities in Jagannatha's appearance in Jagannath Puri and Jagannath's appearance in ISKCON. So it's not mere coincidence. The Lord is personally involved in his transcendental leelas. So with this, I stop here.